Welcome back, my fellow agents. It is I, X7, the host of Zenorama, the Heroes and the podcast of Heroes and Monsters. First and foremost, your humble agent is feeling a little under the weather, so please forgive him. If we'll just blame the medication for any flubs today. But today, we're going to talk about the movie version of Johnny Sokko and his flying robot, aka Giant Robo. But we're talking about the movie version, Voyage into Space. But before we get too much further into that, please like, share, subscribe, vote in the poll if there is one. And if you're watching, or wherever you're watching or listening, please listen a couple of minutes or watch it a couple minutes, and I'd really appreciate it. Helps the algorithm, don't you know? So, Voyage into Space here was cobbled together in 1970 or so. By the wonderful minds at AIP, that's American International Pictures, American International Television. So it was cobbled together, what did we say? From episodes 1, 2, 10, 17, and 26. It was brought over in 1969 as Johnny Sokko and his flying robot with 26 episodes. We've talked about it a bit, but we will. This is just the movie. This is the movie version. I got these screenshots from the Blu-ray Voyage into Space from Scorpion Pictures. It's a beautiful picture, literally. Ronin Flicks and Scorpion Releasing. Pardon me, conflated them. The Blu-ray was released in February of 2021. Shout Factory released the whole series, dubbed in English, no Japanese language with English subtitles, way back in 2013, if you can believe. And that's just a snippet of the theme song, the Japanese one, that you can hear. You don't hear too much of it. It's the instrumental version, so it plays over these screens here. So the movie runs about 100 minutes, 98 minutes or so. There were many bootleg versions that came out once home video got to be around, that ran between, say, 90 and 100 minutes, or even a little less when it was originally broadcast way back when, and then when home video came out and people recorded it. There was also an 8mm version that came out. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but it just goes pretty much straight in order, except that there's one episode where Dr. Botanus, or Dr. Over, who was killed by the Emperor Guillotine, for failing to do his job. So, sorry. Once again, your humble agent is under the effects of some slight medication, so that's what we're just going to blame it. The first episode. It's the only one I ever saw as a kid where Emperor Guillotine and his brightly colored rocket ship, or spaceship, flies down into Earth. And then sinks, and then you don't hear about it, but then mysterious things happen. We're not going to go too far into it, but you got to wonder why this kid, Johnny Sokko, or Daisuke, what the heck's his real name? Or Daisuke Kusama, was on this boat all by himself when ships have been disappearing. There's not many people on the boat but the crew and Jerry Mano, U3, also known as Juro Minami. The dubbing was done by Copri in Florida, still released by many of the, still released by AI-TV. That's American International, not Artificial Intelligence. They were smart enough to know kids would gobble this show up. Bobby Byers was the voice of Johnny, and Ted Rusoff there was the voice of Jerry Mano. You can hear other of their voices. It says Paul Brown and Mark Harris. Wouldn't surprise me if Jerry Burke showed up as well. You were not meant to watch these shows over and over, or even in movie version, because then you'd hear that the voices for different characters all rather sounded the same. There's Draculon, that the first monster that shows up. His name's Dakolar, maybe in the Japanese version, but he's my favorite because he's the only one I saw until I finally got this movie in, I want to say 87, 88 maybe. I made the mistake of asking a date if she wanted to watch it, and she kindly said yes, and then I realized, oh boy, at the end of it. But she did say yes. I would have taken a no. Here's Agent Spider, or Captain Spider. He's in several episodes. And there's Dr. Lucius Guardian, who invented the giant robot. I don't even think he gets a credit in here. Obviously a Caucasian actor in Japan. And there's the very famous wristwatch. If you've seen South Park with the Mecha Streisand or Mega Streisand episode, this is where they got it from. Johnny impetuously talks into it. This kid is self-sufficient. I mean, the show was created by Mitsutaro Yokoyama, who also did the same sort of thing with Gigantor or Tetsujin Niju Achigo, Iron Man 28, and probably many other things. I should take a peek here, what else he's done. Oh, Kamen no Ninja Akakage, Red Shadow, Princess Comet, an adaptation of The Water Margin, which is a Chinese movie or a Chinese book we've seen, many other things. Also Sally the Witch, and several other things I've never seen. But this is his live action foray, except for Akakage, which came out earlier than this one. But Ultraman showed up and changed it from swordplay to giant monsters. Now Draculon has wrecked the ship. They're on their giant robot. When they get away from the gargoyles, Jerry just throws Johnny a machine gun, and he just mows down gargoyle agents. They're called Big Fire in the Japanese version, but gargoyle agents are just more gargoyle gang. He just mows them down without a thought because they're bad guys. They're not people. And there's the ship again. Okay, there's Emperor Guillotine. Now, some folks have postulated that he is one of the Cthulhu aliens from H.P. Lovecraft's books. I mean, he kind of looks like it, but who knows? I'm sure that Mitsutaro Yokoyama was widely read and drew his inspiration. I don't know that. Again, I've never seen the manga or anything that he's drawn about this movie or show, so I couldn't tell you. Another lovely shot with people running from Draculon. Is it Draculon or Dragulon? I always say Draculon. Yeah, Draculon. It's got an O, not U. There is a Draculon later on, which is a little confusing because he's an actual vampire. But we don't get that episode. I kind of wonder about the choices of the episode choices they made here. And there he is giving his first command. The battles are all right. They're not as well staged as Ultraman. I doubt that a robot was quite as well constructed. I mean, he had more movable parts. There are times his chest plate separates from the back of it. The monsters, almost all of them, made double appearances in 26 episodes. There were like 2 that did not. And there's his finger missiles, which are his kill shot for the most part. And now we're into the second episode, which is the Globar or Nucleon or the Radion Globe, depending on which episode you see. In this one, I believe it's Nucleon. There it's coming down. I think it's a really cool. It's not particularly a monster, but it's mechanical. But it's just a neat design. I mean, once again, a really nice matte shot. Although you can tell where the people are and where the monster is. But it works. I mean, you're going to see this briefly on probably a grainy UHF channel and you're off antenna. So, not here in Fossil Bed, I'll tell you what. So Johnny gets inducted into the Unicorn Agency. He's told not to tell his friends or his classmates or his parents that he's working here. Don't his parents get suspicious at all? We don't get any. I mean, apparently, one would assume the unicorns are a government agency, but we just don't know really. And let's see. Okay, let's go over here. There's his U7. It's not quite X7, but we like U7 quite a bit. Poor Mitsunobu Kaneko passed away from a car accident several years, a couple of decades ago. I highly recommend getting the Johnny Sokko DVD set. It's got a wonderful booklet by August Rogoni, and it's very informative, more than you'd ever think. A couple of more. This is the chief here, and these are, I think she's U6 or U5. There is a book about Zenorama published a issue about Giant Robot, and we'll show you a picture of that. Well, it'll probably be the frame grab. They have little jetpacks that I don't know how they didn't burn themselves, but probably fireproof clothing. They all have their requisition neckerchiefs. There's Captain Spider and his superior. Big fire here, doing a very familiar salute to Emperor Guillotine. They snapped to attention as soon as he showed up. He never does anything. He just lives on his spaceship or in another dimension and shows up and gives orders and then gets annoyed. I'm not even sure why he ever wanted to take over the Earth. Pardon me. So, fights abound. This show is action-packed with guns and fists, just about everything you could think of. The Radion Globe, or the Nucleon Globe, it can fly, and it blows up real well. You can see that this is probably made of cake, which made for really great explosions and sending things out, especially when shot in high speed. There's Dr. Botanist and Black Dia, or Harlequin. Yes, there was a Harlequin before Harley Quinn made it famous. Harlequin. And Dr. Botanist, or Dr. Ova, and he can teleport himself. He's like the head honcho for a while. And we're into episode 17 now, right? Let me scroll back down here. 10, pardon me. This is episode 10. 10? Yes, 10. The gargoyle vine sucks all the water out of Lake something. Some fans have thought the gargoyle vine was the inspiration for Biollante in the 1989 movie Godzilla vs. Biollante. It's also known as the Satan Rose in the Japanese version, which is a great title. So if you attack it, the more you attack it, the stronger it gets. I'd say Hulk was its inspiration. But it does have a flower to shoot out a deadly mist. And they destroy it by, I don't know if that's destroy the dam. Let's see, 10 is the transformed humans? No. Yeah, destroy the dam. So 17 came before episode 10 in the movie. This is Ligon or Tyrox, depending on which episode you see, also known as Ligorian. Is that him? No. I'm looking here again. Dublion. Yeah, they call him Ligorian in one of the episodes. He's on the cover of the 8mm movie. There's U6 again. There's a nice fight. Destroying. They never really fight in towns, except for that first one. And Giant Robot giving him the old heave-ho. You'll see he's got jewelry on, or dreadlocks. One of the two, take your pick. And then he goes right after Guillotine submarine. Guillotine, pardon me, because nobody could pronounce guillotine properly. There's their cute little communications that they would use. It looks like a pen, but you could talk long distance, like over countries. Johnny got shot. So now we're right toward the end episode here. This is the final episode. Johnny's down. He's been shot. Once again, where are his parents? He goes to school. There's one episode where he meets a new student who is, of course, an agent, a kid agent of the Gargoyle Gang. But nobody says, why are you gone all the time? Where do you go? How are you graduating? How are you studying? Nice little tape recorder device. Or here's the Opticon, which is a giant eye, which is really cool. And let's see, where is it? Gunmons is its name. Opticon, Opticorn, depending on the title. So there it is, just floating there. This was stock footage from a previous episode. The gang's worried about Johnny. This is Eisler or Iganog. And Scallion. And what was Scallion's real name? I don't see it here. I think that's, Ikagaras. Looks like a giant stingray. That's a fun one, too. I like that idea. And somebody's blown up. There's these very interesting and very not real machine guns. So the final idea here of Emperor Guillotine is to have Giant Robot use up all his power fighting all these previous monsters, which is a good idea. And so it works. And I just wanted to throw a little bit of that song in there to stop me from talking so much. So this is U6. So the other woman must have been U5. Mary is her name. Mary Hansen, maybe. She can speak several languages, and she's closer to Johnny's age. I don't know. And her dubbing is pretty fun. They do a good job with her. She gets a little self-important, but so the Guillotine's plan to use up all of Robot's power works, and it's smart. And you think, well, why didn't you do that before? Just unleash all the monsters at once. Now, you can't apply there's always some logic you can't apply if you want to have an episodic television show. It's like, why didn't Ultraman use his Spacium beam on the monster right away and just kill it? Well, then the show would be over. Now, there's not a lot of characterization here, but there is some. And once again, does Mary, to her parents, is she an orphan? Because she's young. Sure, she's gifted if she can speak 5 languages, but what the heck? And again, we don't know if this is a government agency or just some privately run thing that recognizes there's a danger. And this is a great shot of Guillotine, though. But unfortunately for him, somehow Giant Robot gets as a power supply and starts operating on his own, which means this is why they're smiling here. They can't attack Guillotine because if they do, he'll explode. He's made out of nuclear material. He blows up the side of a mountain or a city or something he pulls off a fingernail and throws it and it explodes. And he's like, if you attack me, I can't do his voice because it's modulated, but if you attack me, I'll blow up and the whole planet will die because he's 50 feet tall. I don't know. You'll see that the monsters grew and shrunk as the story needed, much like Gigantor. But Robot despite Johnny's pleading, Robot grabs Guillotine and takes him into space and right into the path of the path of a comet headed their way. And he blows up real good. Johnny cries, Mary cries, everybody cries. And they salute him, which is a nice touch. And the narrator says, just maybe when Johnny really needs him, Giant Robot will show up. So with 26 episodes, if you showed them daily, that's like just barely over 6 weeks. I would assume they put him in rotation with Ultraman, which is kind of what happened to my poor schlub of a cousin, Ron Bill. Because he was so excited to have us watch Ultraman all together. He turned it on and got the television warmed up because he had to turn it on 10 minutes early and turned it to whatever channel it was there in Kansas. And lo and behold, it was Giant Robot. So, which was still fun. I wanted to see Ultraman, but this had a giant monster and a giant robot. They were fighting. There it is, the end. So that's why I do like that first episode and that first monster so much. An American International Television release. There you go. It's a fun movie. It moves along. It was shown on. It was never shown here in Fossil Bed. I was growing up as a young agent. However, it was shown elsewhere because I'd never even heard of it. I did see the 8mm box, and when we get there, we'll talk about that for a minute. But I didn't know anything about it because why would I? So here's some promo material, which is a nice shot. Look at the size. I mean, that is a good sized ship, which probably has people on it. So robots, and even Johnny's a little out of scale there, which is fine. It's impressive looking. If they take Johnny out, you wouldn't even think about it. Here is a nice team up that would have been fun to read or watch. They did make a cartoon version of this sometime in the 90s. 2007, pardon me. I thought it was incredibly boring. Is it the one? Is that the one there? Hold on a minute. Let me scroll back up there. 1990s direct to video with Giant Robo, The Day the Earth Stood Still. It looked beautiful. It was beautiful. Cartoon was so boring. All right. And here's the cast. What's her name there? Where did it go? Let's see. Mitsuko. She kind of phased out. So this is one that's kind of rare that the two women are there together. Well, Johnny was growing pretty quickly as well while the show was on. Here's a poster for the movie. Once again, probably international poster, but we're still. I've always been confused as to why Johnny Sokko and his flying robot would be called Voyage into Space. You tell me. The world may never know. So this would show up on television. Channel 7 is probably somewhere back east. They had a lot more. Apparently, somehow it seems like east of the Mississippi, they had a lot more channels to choose from, and in more densely populated areas than, say, Fossil Bed. We had 5 channels at any given time until the early 80s when we started when it was big enough the city got big enough to have a few more. Well, Denver had a few more. Here is the Super 8 version there. I saw this at the local Kmart, the store of the Mart of K, and for some reason just thought that was a guy it looks like an astronaut in a rocket suit. Why that didn't tell me anything, or did I read this? The gigantic flying no, didn't. Valiant. Good job. Oh my gosh. Good job, Ken Films. I do have a copy of this somewhere, transferred over from 8mm or Super 8mm, and it's 8 minutes or 10 minutes, as the case may be. That says 7 minutes. I don't even think there was a 50-foot version, but this would be the 200-foot version, I'm sure. $10 to buy it was between $8 and $10 to buy a 200-foot 7 or 10 minute version of a movie. You can buy the whole series for $20. Some things have changed for the better, although it was always fun to get one of these. And here is the cover for the Voyage into Space that Ronin Flicks and Scorpion Releasing did. The Claw is not in it. This one isn't. I think that's the Ninja Monster. Sparky back there. It's it's a great cover, but they didn't include all the monsters that were in it and included some that weren't. So here you go. If you want to read more about this, that was published 2 years ago. We are working on a full color edition of the movie, of the book, pardon me. And maybe that'll be out sometime in the near future. We just don't know. But probably not till next year, because we only have a couple months left and we got to get that Godzilla King of the Monsters episode or issue out. So my fellow agents, there you have it. This is the the Voyage into Space review. And I'm sorry again for my voice quality if it sounds any different. I hope you have enjoyed it. And if you do get a watch that opens up and you can command a giant robot, well, the power is on the wrist, not in the palm of your hand. So until our next assignment, this is X7 signing off.